Welcome to Everyday Reviews. We're here in beautiful San Francisco. There's the Bay Bridge behind me. We're here to check out the brand new Mazda CX-90 3-row SUV. It is a big vehicle. It's the largest vehicle in their lineup. It's the most powerful vehicle. There's 3 power plants, including an inline 6 turbo and a plug-in hybrid. And I'm telling you, this could be the new benchmark in 3-row SUVs. Starting on the outside, man, you can't miss this color. First of all, this is called Artisan Red. If there are automotive awards for best color and paint, Mazda really should get it. This color, that red soul metallic, they are hot. Now, speaking of hot, check out this new CX-90. Seriously. It is sleek. You have this big, long hood, it seems. It just goes on and on forever. Love the shape of it. This is built off a brand new platform, exclusive just for the CX-90. And on the sides, I like the use of how they broke up this area here on the fender here. So this one says PHEV. So this is the plug-in hybrid. Doesn't matter if you get the Turbo 6, it'll say the Inline 6, and it's a really nice touch. That chrome really does work well. We head over to the front, you see the LED headlamps, but how they've contoured the running lights that go right into it, it's all part of the entire design. Love the piano black grille. Now, one thing you have to note though, in Canada and the US, we have different trim levels. This is the top trim in the PHEV that we're looking at here. And for the Inline 6, we're also looking at the signature trim. If you wanna know what's included on all trims, go to your local Mazda website and check it out, because the pricing is gonna be different in Canada compared to the US. And depending on where you live, you might also even get some rebates, which we'll talk about that in a second of here. Dimensions wise, the CX-90 is larger in all metrics. It's longer, it's taller, and it's wider. Wheelbase is 7.5 inches longer to be exact. I think the vehicle is very, very proportional. We open up the back doors, check it out. It is pretty well 90 degrees, which is gonna make it easy for passengers to get in and out of. And also if you're getting into that 3rd row, beware though, if you have kids, don't let them swing it open when you're in a tight spot. Now, in the rear, it's quite tidy. We have a nice rear wiper, thumbs up to that. We have LED tail lamps. They don't wrap all the way like a light bar, but they do wrap around. I like the look of them. There are no visible tailpipes on this one here. You can get a trailer hitch for it. Towing rating, 3,500 pounds. You can get it up to 5,000 pounds depending on what package you get. Now, speaking of packages though, this does have the hands-free power liftgate. Just a little kick, up it comes. We're quite familiar with that. I should set this to go higher. We can do that. But in Canada, I'm not sure about the US packaging, you have to actually get into the GSL, I believe, and you have to get the enhanced package, which is about 2,000 bucks. That's gonna give you the panoramic roof and some other goodies, but then you also get the power tailgate. There is one caveat though, is that you can only get that enhanced package if you get the captain's seats for the 2nd row. So meaning a 7-passenger vehicle. If you want an 8-passenger CX-90, you cannot get it with the power liftgate. I think that's really, really unfortunate, because a lot of people want 8 passengers, maximum capacity, but they still want that power liftgate. So anyways, in the back here, very good amount of room, even with the 3rd row up. When we fold them down, we can fold everything down nice and flat here. It's just a pull there and a push. There you go. In the back, you get USB-Cs and a drink holder. All CX-90s come with a 120 volt plug. This one is rated for 150 watts on this side, but if you go for the PHEV, which this one is, you get a 1,500 watt plug here, and that'll power pretty well anything that you can throw at it. All your appliances will be powered through there. Maybe not the Dyson blow dryer though, that's 1,600 watts. We tried that with some other PHEVs for sure. On the inside of this brand new CX-90, wow, that's all I can say. There is a lot to take in here. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a Volvo interior, how you have that scan design. It's simplistic yet modern. You have multi-materials that they're using, and depending on what model and what trim, here's an image here of the signature trim. And they have what they call kakanui. So it's a unique stitching process where it overlaps. They have a gap where the stitch is so you can see what's underneath. Definitely unique for sure. For the first time ever, you can get a two-tone steering wheel. Standard, you get cloth seats. Move up the trim levels, you get leatherette, and top trims get Napa leather, heated, ventilated. You can even get heated and ventilated, even second row seats on this CX-90. So lots of premium features. Also a full digital gauge. We have a head-up display on this particular model. Upgraded from the standard 10.25 inch, we have the larger 12.3 inch infotainment screen. Standard, you get CarPlay and Android Auto. However, when you get up to the top trim, it becomes wireless. You can also get a 360 camera. They call it like a see-through camera. I love how you can select the different camera views. Below that, you get real buttons and toggles for your temperature, your heated seats, ventilated seats on this model, our heated steering wheel. It's all tactical. Love that. Totally love it. In the center here, you have your shifter, which you actually have to go and push over to the right side and then down to hit your drive, and then back up and then to the left to go back and park. Quite easy. There's your MI drive toggle there and your multimedia interface here. Now this is a touch screen when you're using CarPlay or Android Auto, not for the regular things, because they've designed it that way. I find that the system still, it's not the quickest system out there, but after a day of using it, you get used to it for sure. We mentioned that enhanced package, which costs $2,050 in Canada, and that gives you that hands-free power liftgate. It also gives you the 5,000 pounds of towing capacity, as well as this large panel roof here. I like that there is a sunshade, and this roof does open as well. I'm going to close it again because it's shining right into the camera. So let's take a look in the back. Second row. This happens to have the captain's seats. This is a 7-passenger vehicle, and you'll notice there is a pass-through in the middle here. You can walk through there, or you can actually just flip the seats up to get in the back there. If you go into the signature, you get actually a large console, so you don't have that pass-through at all. We have a climate control in the rear here, and this one does have heated rear seats. These seats, by the way, they do slide forward and back. We do have a nice adjustable armrest, and you can recline the seat as well. So really nice for passengers for sure. Now let's check out the back here. Let me just see here. Can I do this gracefully? I'm not sure. That's not very graceful, is it? See my butt. Everybody wants to see what the third row is like. This seat in front of me is not all the way back. This one is. I actually have decent amount of room here. How much? Yeah, it's not too bad. This is actually quite usable. Now this does have room for 3. I think 3 would be pretty tight back here, but remember, any of these vehicles in this class, their third rows aren't usually for real long road trips, putting someone back there for a long time. Not a nice thing to do, but for kids, for short trips with adults even, absolutely doable for sure. Time to drive. Okay, first up we are in the turbo inline 6. You hear that? That's a sweet sounding 6-cylinder for sure. And those that know me know that I'm a big fan of inline 6s, mainly, from my BMW days. They just have such a great torque curve, lots of good torque, 369 pound-feet of torque on this engine, regardless of what gas that you put in it. And this is the high output. Now, in Canada, we have the regular turbo 6, or we have the high output, and in the US you get the turbo and the turbo S. That's the only difference. So the regular has 280 horsepower. Now this one that we have here, the high output, will have 340 horsepower. That's on premium fuel. If you do use a regular fuel, you'll still get 319 horsepower out of this high output engine. But there's a few other advantages of using this inline for this CX-90. It's the packaging. First of all, because it is narrower, it's not sideways for a front wheel drive. This is a rear wheel drive platform. So now the frame rails do not have to go around the engine, so you don't have to beef up the actual frame to make it strong enough. You can have it completely straight, and that's gonna save room for the tires. So you can actually turn this more sharp. This vehicle, compared to the CX-9, has a longer wheelbase of 7.5 inches, yet the turning radius is 8 inches shorter than the CX-9. That's mind-blowing. It's all because of the packaging. Also, this is matched to an in-house 8-speed automatic transmission. It doesn't use a torque converter either, and because they build it in-house for this vehicle, they can tailor it. It's more compact. It's further back as well. That's another advantage of this 6-cylinder. They can move everything back for a better balance. Also, your footwell, there's so much room. There's not a wall right against your right foot by the throttle. It's really, really roomy. There is an MI drive on this particular model, so we can flick that to up to sport mode. You can see our gauges will turn, and right away, it's not really quick to transition though, just to be aware, but it opens everything up. Gears stay longer. This thing shifts beautifully. If you want to shift manually, you can use the paddles behind the steering wheel, and in the menu setting, you can actually set it to stay in manual if you've went into manual, or you can make it so it'll default back to drive after a little bit like we have it right now. But it's really, really responsive, this transmission. All CX-90s come standard with the Skyactiv all-wheel drive. Remember, this is a rear-wheel drive platform, so most of the time you're in rear-wheel drive, and it's when it's needed, you have a multi-clutch system that's going to go and engage those front wheels and give you better traction. We're on some twisty roads right here, and it's hard to believe you're driving a 3-row SUV. Like, let's go around some corners here. Use those paddles again, shift down. Oh yeah. You know, Mazda is known for their great drive, and this is no different. All right, let's see from a rolling start here. To the floor. This CX-90 just feels so planted, and you feel very secure driving this on these roads here. The steering is extremely precise. You feel very connected with this vehicle. The CX-90 isn't the only rear-wheel drive platform currently in the Mazda lineup. You know what the other one is, right? The beloved MX-5 or Miata. And believe it or not, they actually share something in common, and that's called Kinematic posture control. Now, I'm no engineer, so I have enlisted the expert to try to explain what that is to you.
So, Kinematic posture control is a system that we developed for the MX-5 first. And it's a system that helps make the car steer more precisely through a corner by suppressing some of the body roll and some of the heave and keeping the suspension sort of in the middle of its suspension stroke. The way we do this is we use the suspension kinematics, which is the description of the sort of way the wheel moves through the suspension stroke. And both the MX-5 and the CX-90 have a lot of anti-dive geometry. So when we step on the brakes, the car naturally wants to dive forward, and we use the suspension kinematics to pull the rear of the car down a little bit and counteract that force. And since that geometry is already in place, when we're in a corner, we can drag the inside brake just a tiny amount, and that'll pull the inside rear corner of the car down, suppress some of the body roll, and just make the suspension behave more naturally through the corner.
So not only is this 3.3 liter inline 6 turbo engine powerful, and the most powerful in the Mazda lineup, but it's quite thrifty as well. So if you go into the regular turbo or the regular inline 6, not the high output, We mentioned that has 280 horsepower. Now that runs on regular gas, not premium. And with that, you also get 322 pound-feet of torque. If you compare this to the biggest competitor in this category, which is the Toyota Highlander. Now, they have their hybrid, and they also have a turbo 4-cylinder. Now, this is a mild hybrid, which they call it because it has a 48-volt system. But if you compare it to that Highlander, that one actually has 16 horsepower less, 22 pound-feet of torque less, and it's rated at 10.3 liters per 100K in combined city and highway driving. You go into this inline 6 turbo running on the regular fuel, you are rated 9.3 combined. That's a whole liter per 100K difference, and you have more power and torque. And then when you get into the Turbo S or the high output CX-90 that we have right here, we mentioned that's 340 horsepower. That's with premium fuel. If you choose to put regular fuel in there, it'll drop it down to 319 horsepower. So not too bad at all. And regardless, you still get 369 pound-feet with that engine. Now, if you want to compare that for fuel economy with the non-high output turbo engine, 9.5 opposed to 9.3. Only 0.2 of a liter difference. That's a difference between 24 and 25 miles per gallon. 1 mile per gallon difference to have over 60 horsepower more. That's incredible. Also, in this category, nothing compares like with this type of horsepower. You could even go into the premium brands like the Acura MDX, and this will still have more power and more torque than that vehicle. We have stepped into the new CX-90 PHEV, or plug-in hybrid vehicle. Now you get all the goodness of that turbo inline 6 that we're just in, except of course the powertrain is different on this. So underneath the hood, we have a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder matched to a plug-in hybrid system. So we have one single electric motor, and that's going to drive everything in EV only, about 26 miles or 43 kilometers for those that want to just go pure EV. We are in EV right now, and if we don't want to use up all our EV, we can hit a charge button, and we can also go through the menu and select what state of charge that we want that to be, which is actually quite unique. Actually, we don't have to be 100%. I could just say charge it to 50% only, and just use it for a little bit of in the city, for instance. So power-wise, we have 323 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. So lots of horsepower there from the 4-cylinder and that electric motor. Now the nice thing about this system though is unlike others that use a dual e-axle, for instance, or electronic axle, this is still a rear drive platform, just like the inline turbo 6. And so when the electric motor comes in, it's driving everything, including using that 8-speed automatic transmission that we talked about in the inline 6. So as a driver, it's very, very satisfying to have those gears still. You go in gear down and we have real gears. Love it. We're in California right now, so we really can't test this in cold weather, especially when that internal combustion engine will kick on for heat. This does not have a heat pump, by the way, if you're wondering. Okay, so I just pushed the throttle down quite a bit, and that gas engine did kick on. Now, if we go through the MI drive toggle, we have sport, normal, EV, and off-road. Now, in normal mode, it's going to go and prioritize EV as much as it can, but it'll always reserve about 20% at the bottom end just for actual performance. So you still have that nice electric torque right off the line. You're always going to have that, which is nice. Some systems out there, once that battery has been depleted, you do notice a little bit of a lack of performance after that. This one, you're always going to have that 20% somewhere in there for your driving. I'm going to floor it to see if the gas engine actually does come on. There it is. Okay, EV mode canceled, but it took a while. It showed boost, and then it took a while. And now we're back in EV mode again. Okay, this is gonna be good. Let's see if we can accelerate into traffic here. There we go. No problem, no problem at all. I wasn't quite sure there because we needed to get going pretty quick. So it's not all about power though, it's how does it handle? You know, that turbo inline 6 handled great as well. Well, this one has the addition of that, it's about a 17 kilowatt hour lithium battery. Hey, that's always a welcome to have some extra weight down low, especially on a taller SUV-like vehicle. And this also doesn't have the inline 6, but does have an inline 4. And there is some large advantages of this and suspension-wise. Let's talk to Dave again.
So the CX-90 uses a double wishbone front suspension, which is ideal for both handling and ride. For handling, it keeps the tire upright as we go into a corner. It gives us more front grip. And for ride, there's less friction in a double wishbone suspension. So it moves more smoothly over small bump inputs, and it responds more naturally to a steering input. One of the ways we're able to package the double wishbone in here, especially in the ideal way with the upper control arm as far inboard as we want it, is by having a narrow inline engine, either the inline 6 or the PHEV's inline 4. Leaves plenty of room for us to put the control arms where we want them to be. If we had a wide V engine, the cylinder head and the control arm would want to be in the same spot. So this is sort of part of the harmonious packaging that this platform gives us.
Charge-wise, on a 7.2 kilowatt level 2 charger, to 100% it's going to be about 2 hours and 20 minutes. To 80% it's going to be much quicker than that. And if you just want to plug it into a regular household outlet, you're looking probably around 7 to 8 hours or so, just overnight. Just plug it in, and you're going to get, 43 kilometers or 26 miles out of it. And for a lot of people, that's going to help a lot for, especially if you're city driving or you're in traffic or you just have lots of short trips. This is rated to use regular fuel. If you wanted to put premium in, I don't know why you would, you're only going to gain about a few horsepower. And that's the only difference. So I'd stick with a regular for sure. It's going to definitely save money in your pocket. So what's it going to cost you to get into a CX-90? Well, if you go into the PHEV that we have here, starts just under $55,000. Hey, guess what? This qualifies for some government incentives in Canada. Depending on where you live, check with your local listings there. If you go up to the top trim like we have here, which is the GT, you're looking at just over $64,000. These are Canadian dollars. If you want to go into the inline 6 turbo with the mild hybrid 48 volt system, that's going to start you at $45,900. So actually quite a bit less, but you can spend all the way up to 63,000 Canadian dollars if you want to go to the top signature class. So they really do have you covered regardless what power plant you want or what trim level you want. There is something for everyone. I just wish that you could get that power liftgate on an 8-passenger vehicle. Of course, PHEVs are great not only for fuel economy, getting into that HOV lane, those great parking spots at the mall as well, but with this type of setup where they have the rear drive, you have the all-wheel drive as well, the 8-speed automatic transmission, this really is a real performer. Remember, this is not a sports car. If you want a sports car, go into that MX-5, but this, you put this thing in sport mode, you have the paddle shifters, it doesn't have quite the sound as that inline 6 turbo, but this thing still has great torque, very linear, and it's fun to drive. This thing will definitely hold its own, definitely compared to other 3-row SUVs, hands down. What do you think of the new CX-90? You know what I think? I think Mazda has nailed it out of the park. Exterior styling, it's sleek, it's got a real rich premium look, especially in this artisan red. Interior, the craftsmanship, materials, the way everything looks, feels, and functions, it's right up there. Sure, that third row isn't the largest, but hey, this is not a full-size SUV either. And then you have the power options. You know, I'm a fan of the inline 6s. You know, that turbo engine is so smooth, but if you want to just dip your toe into that EV category, you can do that without diving in with the PHEV. Plus, some places you actually get rebates back for that, so that's another advantage. So you have all these different options. I think Mazda has done a really good job packaging it all together for sure in this brand new CX-90, and I really do think at this time, this is the new benchmark for three-row SUVs. Thanks for watching. See you on the next review.